name is Bady Baldé. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the EITI. The EITI is the global standard for transparency and good governance in oil, gas and mining. It's the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. We have 55 member countries around the world that implement the standard to ensure that natural resources benefit citizens. We are here in Namibia because we are discussing with all stakeholders, with companies, government and civil society, to explore how Namibia could consider becoming a member of the EITI, especially in the context where it is developing its oil sector in addition to the mining sector that is already well underway. Transparency is crucial at all stages, especially when you have an emerging sector, because it's an opportunity to set good standards based on best practices, lessons we learn from all around the world. From Norway to all your neighbors around here, we have something that Namibia probably could learn from. So since we have seen these journeys, when you have a new discovery of this nature, we want to make sure that Namibia is as best equipped as it could be to learn from the best and avoid mistakes that we have seen elsewhere. Our purpose is to make sure that the resources are managed properly to benefit citizens in the end. We do this in many ways, but the first and most fundamental way is to create a space for dialogue, where citizens are represented, their voices are represented through various actors, especially civil society, including media. But importantly, that's also a space where dialogue with government entities that are involved in the management of the sector and with companies operating here. Fortunately for Namibia, most of the companies that are operating here are already supporters of the EITI and they're very well familiar with how EITI functions internationally. So setting this process up here should be fairly straightforward. But secondly, most importantly, is then how to translate a global standard framework into local context here. Because you cannot copy and paste, you have to translate it into the context environment you have. And we have a transparency framework on the licensing stage, on contract stage, on the fiscal regimes, and helping all entities understand this is what is required, and making sure that all companies operating in that environment are upholding those obligations, fiscal obligations and their contractual obligations. There are many relevant information and examples for Namibia to learn from. Again, our organization is based in Norway. I'm coming from Norway now. I see many examples there that could be useful in a context like Namibia. It's a big country by its size, but with a relatively small population compared to the space. And the kind of issues you have there, to some degree, you are able to build dialogue and trust and social contract between the communities and those who are managing the sector for the long-term benefit of citizens. So looking at similarities of that nature are important. But I wouldn't limit it to Norway alone, because you also have countries here in Africa and elsewhere that have gone through this journey and gone through different stages, because sometimes it's as important to learn what tripped up other countries and how to avoid them than just learning from the best case examples. So accountability is a core to our theory of change, if you will, because you want citizens to be equipped with information, but they have to use that information to hold the different entities accountable. Fortunately, we have in Namibia a situation where you have a functioning democracy, you have free press, you have competent civil society actors who can analyze things in technical details. So they become the intermediaries, and they are able to analyze technical reports in a very niche sector, highly technical issues, and translate those to local communities, to citizens, and sometimes helping even members of parliament to understand certain intricacies, and sometimes other oversight entities such as supreme audit institutions that have the mandate to oversee this work would benefit from cooperation with specialized actors such as EITI to help them ensure adequate oversight of the sector. Civil society is a core pillar in our work because we want to make sure that the government and companies that are working to improve, to manage the sector, that there is a voice representing the voice of broader citizens. And that's why the role of civil society is such a core pillar in the entire framework that we do. And at the most basic fundamental level is to make sure that their rights are respected, that they are able to question, to use the information and interrogate where there are deviations. They are able to question that and refer matters to relevant institutions that would have the power to take that forward. So their role is crucial because not everybody will have the expertise to analyze this and to follow this in great detail. And so we need to trust a small group of people like that we call civil society to do all that work on our behalf as the average citizen. Challenges are many. Here in Africa, some of the challenges, first and foremost, sometimes you have issues of deficit of trust, where the stakeholders that need to work together sometimes are not used to working with each other or not used to sharing information with each other. Sometimes even within the same government, ministries are not always comfortable sharing information with each other. And that is important to overcome, to learn how to work with each other. So that issue of deficit of trust is something that we often have to work and overcome. And then you have issues of capacities as well, because we shouldn't always assume bad faith. Sometimes certain things are not just done not just because people have bad intent, but because there are lack of capacities to do things as you would want them to see, like upholding high environmental standards and so on and so forth. These things can be technical. So you need expertise, and that's not always there. So that's another common challenge. But fortunately here in Namibia, we see great potential in all those areas. Success for Namibia would be a country that is able to develop this sector in a manner that benefits its development in the long term, in a manner that the sector becomes a positive to its economy rather than a destruction, that the economy is able to absorb such a sector of such magnitude without distorting the rest of the economy. Because however successful it is, you don't want to have an economy that is dependent on only one sector. So it's very important to do this in a way that it enables sustainable development, but it mitigates against the harm that we have seen some elsewhere. I've been very pleased to be in Namibia in the last few days. It was a very short visit, but I'm so inspired to see so many actors who are not passive, but who are positive and engaged. They see the opportunity that lies before Namibians today, and they are very intent in doing their part in making sure that Namibia makes the right decisions, and they make their contributions in helping develop a framework that will contribute to successful development of the sector to benefit everyone in the long term. So that has been very inspiring. I think that information needs to be shared more broadly. It's a smaller group. Namibia membership requires is engagement by a sovereign state, so the government of Namibia would need to formally commit to implement the EITI if this is something they wish to do, and we would encourage them and support them every step